It's time for the show that engages with people of the combat sports world. And now, presenting the reigning, defending, undisputed combat sports show champion of the world, Flash Knockdown!
Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining me on episode 14 of Flash Knockdown with the number 4 ranked amateur lightweight and the reigning, defending UKFC lightweight champion, Super Teddy Stringer. Welcome to the show, Teddy.
Thank you, mate. I love that. It's a proper introduction.
Is Bruce Buffer's job at risk?
I think he best be watching his back, you're coming in there.
Excellent. I'm pleased to hear that. Well, Teddy, I know you're a man in high demands, so it's a pleasure that you agreed to come on the show today. Thank you very much.
No worries, mate. I've been looking forward to coming onto this show for a while. You've got some quality interviews, so it's a pleasure.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that, Teddy. And Teddy, before we go any further, could you give the viewers an overview of your MMA career, the gym you represent, and how people can find you online, please?
Yeah, so I'm Teddy Stringer. I'm the UKFC lightweight champion, number 4 ranked lightweight in the UK. Fight out of Squad Jiu-Jitsu, Fourth Dimension MMA, and Sheffield Shoot Fighters. So I'm a man all around the gyms. And you can find me at Teddy Stringer on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that.
Thank you very much, Teddy. So we now move on to the next part of the show that I've called Flash Choices. For first-time viewers, I will ask Teddy 10 questions with 2 possible answers. And Teddy, you choose the one that best suits in a flash. Got it?
Got it.
Okay, brother. First one, Teddy. Tupton Hall or Ryan Hall?
Ryan Hall.
Ryan Hall. BJJ
Ryan Hall beats
black
Tupton
belt.
Hall every day of the week.
Right. UFC
Yeah, I'd
lightweight
much
too.
rather be studying his stuff than sat at school. Yeah.
He's a beast, isn't he?
Yeah, and of course you've got to give the nod to him. I think he's the guy who created 50-50 guard. That's what he's famous for. And he's got a gym called 50-50, and I love all my leg locks at the moment. So Ryan Hall steals that one for me.
Yeah, you got an ankle lock at Empire Grappling, right?
Yeah, I got a heel hook then. It was, all the leg stuff. It's something that this past year I've got into a lot, but I can imagine as soon as I go pro, I'm going to just be heel hooking everyone. I feel like I can't go near their legs in amateur MMA, and I love it so much. It's a big part of my game now. So Ryan Hall all day.
Awesome. Okay, talking about Empire Grappling, Empire State Building or Empire Grappling?
You know the answer, Empire Grappling.
Okay.
I mean, Jake, obviously, he's got UKFC and Empire, and the shows he puts on are always the best.
Yeah, absolutely. You fought there in July versus Kyle Conway.
Yeah, Carl Conway. That was it was a good little matchup, and the way they put those shows on during lockdown was top class. So credit to them.
Excellent. Okay, third one then, Teddy. The 5th of October 2019 or the 29th of February 2020?
29th of Feb 2020, it's got to be.
Okay, and what's the significance of
Yeah,
that date?
I mean, that's when I beat Mike Thompson and defended my belt. And against all my fights, that's something that ranks up there as an experience in the cage. I love that fight.
Sure. Okay. Teddy Atlas or Teddy Sheringham?
I go Teddy Atlas on this one. Although I mean, I love a bit of boxing. I love a bit of football as well. That's kind of a side hobby of mine. But yeah, Teddy Atlas gets this one.
Sure. American boxing trainer and fights commentator. And out of interest, who do you support?
Yeah. I'm a Glory supporter. I support Chelsea.
That's fucking illegal.
Even though they've got absolutely no relevance to me.
That's
I live
the
miles
ladies and
away,
gentlemen. You may as well switch off now. That's the end of the interview.
I don't blame him. I don't blame him. Please don't associate me with that.
Okay, don't worry. I'll try and edit this bit out.
For sure.
I don't want any thumbs down. Just thumbs up.
No,
Yeah, thumbs up. Next one, Teddy. Berlin or Amsterdam?
It's got to be Amsterdam for me. I mean, both great cities, but Amsterdam, when I went there, that was a chill out, a time away from training and fighting. So I enjoyed that.
Excellent. I'm sure you did.
For sure, mate. Yeah,
absolutely. Nice coffees. Texas Pete.
Nice coffee.
Yeah, nice coffees. Texas Pete or Spotty?
Texas Pete's or Spotty?
Yeah. Characters from Super Ted.
Oh man, no. All the guys at the gym get on at me for this. I've never watched Super Ted.
Oh, you're killing me.
My first fight T-shirt was the Super Ted, like a picture of him on it, and it was Super Ted. And I was walking around with it, and every time they'd ask me something about Super Ted, and I was completely went over my head.
Man, you've missed out. You missed out. So who would you choose between Texas Pete and Spotty?
Texas Pete. He sounds that's a good name.
He sounds good, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Okay,
don't know anything about him, but he takes that one.
Okay, fair enough. The trilogy fight with Mike Thompson or the rematch with Mark Ewan?
Tricky. I'll go trilogy fight with Mike Thompson.
Okay.
You know, I think that's something that the fans would like to see.
Absolutely. Also, the rematch with Mark Ewan.
Yeah. I mean, I would love that fight. I mean, I spoke to Mark. We were thinking about getting some training in after the fight, and I'm sure once coronavirus sort of ends, we'll either get some training in or meet in that cage again one day.
Yeah, him to come down to you or you to go up to Scotland?
Me to go up to Scotland. They've got a good talent pool at a higher level, and I'd like to go down there and get some rounds in with them one day.
Excellent. And he's making his move to the professionals.
Yeah, he's moving to the professionals after that fight with me, and I think he belongs to be there.
Yeah.
Of course, I was gutted with my performance against him, but it speaks to his class.
Correct. Absolutely. Gi or no gi?
No gi all day.
No gi.
No hesitation on that one.
I know you're a blue belt in the gi.
Yeah, in the gi I'm a blue belt. Which I still love the gi, but I've not trained it in a while. It's kind of fallen to the back burner for me.
Okay, fair enough. William Haycox or Liam McCracken?
Liam McCracken for me. Liam McCracken, it's got to be.
Yeah, okay. And the final one, Teddy, rolling or sparring?
Rolling.
Yeah. Like in Amsterdam.
Yeah, for sure. Rolling in the coffee shops.
Absolutely. And how did you find that overall, Teddy?
It was good, mate. I like those questions. You caught me off guard with the Super Ted one, but it was good.
Okay, fair enough. And normally at this stage, Teddy, I'd be keen to understand your journey to martial arts and some of your early memories. But you've already covered that in previous interviews. So I will spare both you and the viewers and instead start with the IMAFs, a competition which represents the highest standards in amateur MMA. You competed at the Junior Worlds in Bahrain last year. And if I'm right, Paul Reed was the one who first suggested attending the trials. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure it was Paul Reed who first suggested me going down then. I'd had experience with Paul on my second fight and my third fight because I fought through Cage Warriors on them, and he helped organise. And he's been a great guy to work with, a good promoter, and he's always looked after me. And I can't exactly remember the time when he talked about it, but I remember he put it forward to me, and I saw the trials, went there, and the rest is history, really.
Excellent. And bearing in mind the IMAFs is the highest level of amateur MMA, did you feel suitably prepared for the level of competition you'd be facing?
Yeah, I feel like I was ready to come, and I was fully prepared to go out there and win that tournament. I thought I was going to win it. I was prepared to win it, but obviously I'm a little bit sour about the decision over there in Bahrain. But yeah, I felt fully prepared to go out there. It was a little bit of a different experience, but I'm definitely going to revisit the IMAFs and get that gold medal that's rightfully mine.
Absolutely. And could you explain the financial commitments you had to endure just to get out there and how you managed to achieve that?
Yes, so it's a lot of money to go out to Bahrain. It was something well over £1,000 I had to end up spending to get out there to the tournament. So thankfully, I had a lot of people support me. One of the main sponsors, a guy who I hold pads for, Nigel, his business sponsored me the bulk sum of that to go out there and get the flights, pay for the accommodation, and get to the tournament. So without people like that looking after fighters like me and the rest of the team, there'd be no team out there because there's not support and funding for the best people to get out there.
Yeah, and that brings me on to my next question then, Teddy. So due to the cost, do you feel it hinders our ability to send out the best team possible?
Yeah, I think if you were to go onto the rankings and for each amateur weight division and pick the number one guy, 9 times out of 10, they haven't been to IMAF or there's a select few, because those are the guys that should be there, the people who are in the top 5, top 10 of the rankings. And sometimes just they can't get there financially, or they've not got the right support work to get out there. But not to dig against any of the people that got into the team, but I just think there was some people there who weren't the best person to come and represent the UK.
Yeah, makes sense. And I know you rightly felt hard done by during your opening match at the Worlds, but beyond that, what were some of the benefits of being part of the IMAFs that perhaps isn't obvious to the rest of us?
It's a proper experience going out there. I mean, they treat you like kings for that week. Especially in Bahrain, the appreciation for the sport there. The Prince is a massive fan, and like there was police escorts for us to the venue and stuff, and it was a bit surreal. Like we were looking around like, what the hell is this? With some guys fighting in town halls back at home, and we're getting police escorts to the venue. So it's a real experience, and I think anyone who has the opportunity should go there for sure.
Okay. And any reason you competed at welterweights, and given the chance, would you do that again?
Yeah, so a lot of people don't understand the IMAFs. It's on the day weigh-ins. So most shows have the day before weigh-ins, Friday weigh-ins, but with the IMAFs, it's weigh-in on the day of the fight, and then as you progress through the tournament, you've got to weigh in every day. So for someone like me who cuts a lot of weight to get down to lightweight, I'm walking around 80 plus kilos. Getting to welterweight's a comfortable place for me to be on the day weigh-ins. So if I do it again, for sure, I'm not quite sure. Maybe with the right nutritionist, I could maybe squeeze down to lightweight, but it'd be miserable. I like to be a happy fighter.
I see. So you do welterweight again?
Yeah, I think so. Especially since last year at the IMAFs, I've packed on even more size. So I'm still only young, 20 years old. So I'm growing, and I think welterweight's probably the right division for me for on the day and day before lightweight.
I gotcha. Makes sense. And finally, on the IMAFs, Teddy, and all being well, the European Open in Russia is scheduled for August 2021, which is when you turn 21 and possibly turn professional. Is that an event you have your eye on?
Yeah, it's the timing's quite nice with that. August 2021, I think. I've been looking to go professional later on this year, well, next year. And I always said 21's quite a good age for me to go professional. I feel like there's still fights left for me at amateur, so try and squeeze them out over the next few months. And it'd be a nice way to go to Russia, get that gold medal, become European champion, and then head off to the pro ranks with a few more scalps.
Yeah. I mean, you've got the Worlds in Kazakhstan at the end of November 2021.
Yeah. So dependent on how things go.
Exactly.
I mean, squeeze the Worlds in, pro
Exactly.
debut at the end of December.
Exactly.
I like to be active. So if I can squeeze as much in as possible, then that'll suit me.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you, Teddy. And before we look at your flashlights, Teddy, any advice you would give to someone preparing for their first amateur contest?
Yeah, so it's just weird thinking back to my first amateur contest, but I think the biggest bit of advice from whenever I've cornered people or helping people get ready for fights, it's just breathe, be calm. And the people who have reached that state of cool, calm and collected, they perform the best. So it'll be a big occasion for your first amateur fight, but the more you breathe, the more you relax in there, the better your performance will be. So it sounds like rubbish advice, but just breathe.
Stay present.
Yeah, exactly. A million things can come into your mind during a fight, but if you just stay there and focus on being calm and beating that person up in front of you, you'll most likely enjoy the fight and get the win.
Yeah, true. Great advice there, Teddy. Thank you very much. So, Teddy, let's now look at your flashlights and back to that date in October 2018 and your MMA debut at UKFC 8 in Preston versus James Seddon. The first thing I wanted to ask is pretty much all of your domestic MMA fights have been in the Northwest, which is quite a distance from you're based in Chesterfield. Does it help or hinder being the away side?
I'm lucky that I've had a good support of fans when the crowds are there, that a lot of the people from Chesterfield that train with me and my friends and family all come down and support me. So I always feel like I'm the home side a little bit because I can hear them screaming. But to me, it doesn't matter. Obviously, a lot of my fights have been in the Northwest because that seems to be quite a hub for shows in the UK. Yeah. And where I'm from, there's maybe been one or two shows in the past year. So
Cage Steel in Doncaster?
Yeah, Cage Steel in Doncaster. They had a Sheffield show, which it didn't quite work out with timings, but I was desperate to get on that. So if that happens again, that would be certainly a good ticket seller for me.
Yeah, I bet it would be. I bet. And I saw your weigh-in pose, which you've carried into other weigh-ins, looking like one of the Diaz brothers. What do you admire about them?
Yeah, I know what you mean, like arms up, proper
one.
Diaz style.
That's it. That's it.
But I think I've never met a man who follows the sport and doesn't like the Diaz brothers. Like they're so entertaining to watch. They just come in, badass, and I think what is there not to like about the Diaz brothers? They come to fight, and that's what a fighter likes to watch.
That's true. That is true. And speaking of weights, has your pre-fight meal and refueling changed much from your first fight, Teddy?
I'm trying to think back to what I had.
Steak.
No, my coaches wouldn't let me have that.
No, okay.
Sits on me too stodgy. But I like to fatten up a little bit. But I think it's pretty simple for me. It's kind of whatever I've been eating throughout fight camp and what's fueled the rounds. That's what I'll have. So lots of like porridge. That's my go-to breakfast, and like eggs and avocado. Just nice, simple stuff. As tempting as it is after weigh-ins, you want to fill your face. You've got to keep discipline for one more day and not waffle down the steak and the cookies and all that good stuff.
True. That's for after.
Yeah, that's for after.
That's for
That's the
after.
biggest celebration for me.
Yeah,
I like to drink, but after a fight, but it's the food that comes first.
that's true. That's true. The opening round of your fight with James Seddon was one of the best rounds I can remember from two debutants. You were both fearless and landed some heavy blows. What did your coach, Kev Taylor, say to you in between rounds?
I'm not quite sure what he said to me between rounds. It was a good opening round.
It was good.
And I think, I mean, of all my fights, like the most trouble I've been in a fight that I've won was definitely that, I think, because he set a Kimura on early and it was all a little bit just going for it. But I think when we came out for the second round, he probably got me to calm down a little bit and just let me know that where I was winning the fight. And I came out there and I think it was evident when you look at the second round, the gas tank, he'd expended all of it and I could go like that for another 3 rounds. So I think it was just getting me to realize that I can calm down and keep that pace. When you're two debutants, you don't really know what each other's going to bring. So that's the weird X factor to that. So I was expecting him to be more of a striker and I think he was perhaps a grappler. So I was teeing off on him on the feet and really I should have kept it there, but I love my grappling too much. So
yeah. Speaking of which, it was in your corner where Kevin James was shouting out instructions before you locked in the DAS. How useful is it to hear that? And would you say that's one of the benefits of competing in front of no crowds?
Yeah. I think if you've got the right corner, you can hear them with a crowd or without a crowd. But I remember when they yelled the instructions to me there, I could hear it. And it's something that I went for in the gym. So it was, they could have explained it to me or not explained it. If someone gives me their neck like that, I'm taking it. So,
you're taking it, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But I think without the crowds, you can hear your corner a lot better. But you can also hear their corner. That's what I like.
True.
I like hearing their corner. And it's almost like being one step ahead in a video game. You know exactly what they're going to be trying to do if they're a fighter who listens to their corner.
True. And describe the feeling of winning on your debut, Teddy. And could it have gone any better?
No, I think that is the perfect debut. It didn't go all my way, and I kind of like that. But it was pure just ecstasy. There's no feeling like it, and I think it's evident that from that win, it got me addicted, and that's why I'm here today doing what I do, because there's nothing like that feeling.
And due to the blistering start, Brian Lacey on commentary didn't finish explaining why you were sent back to the changing room prior to the start of the fight. Care to share why?
Yeah. I could maybe not say, and this could be like a little unsolved mystery, but
you got to say.
Yeah, it was. I was getting ready for my fight, and I'm like a little vain lad, and I was thinking, I want a bit of hair gel in so I look good for the fight pictures after I beat him up. and the guy checked me before the fight, and he said, you can't have hair wax in if you sweat it out, and it'll like go in your opponent's eyes or something. So we had to run backstage and like wash it out my hair, dry it. And I was like, do I look good? Do I look good to my coach? And he said I look good. And anyway, I did less talking with my haircut and more talking with my skills in the cage. So
you did indeed. Okay, I was wondering. Thank you very much for revealing that, Teddy.
Yeah, that's a Flash Knockdown exclusive right there.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And 6 weeks later, Teddy, you competed on Cage Warriors Northwest Academy 4 against Mike Thompson and a guy you will forever be associated with. However, if the original matchups went ahead as planned, this fight may never have happened. You were initially paired with Mark Whittingham, and Mike was due to face John Carney. So talk us through how you were eventually matched with Mike.
Yeah, so Mark Whittingham, I think it is. I forget his name, but
correct.
I was meant to fight him first, and he pulled out the fight. I think we were scheduled to fight before my debut, and he ended up like his coaches watched that and they said he's not ready, which is fair enough. It's one of those things with debut guys. Sometimes he saw it and he didn't didn't like what he saw, so he didn't want that fight.
You
And I
didn't
think
want it.
Mike Sky got injured, so it's just one of them where we were both scheduled to fight on the card. We were both without opponents, so just put them together. The answer is always yes when I get sent through a fight. So
You're like the man from Del Monte.
The man from Del Monte knows they'll be perfect.
The man from Del Monte says yes.
Say yes to the best.
yeah, well, that's me then. That's me for sure.
Okay, and we should also remember, and to provide context, Teddy, so that the people know what kind of a badass you are, that at the time, that was a dangerous fight to take. First off, you were 18, and I think he was about 29. And that was only your second fight and on a pretty big stage at the Liverpool Olympia. Did you suffer any doubts during the lead up?
No, I wouldn't say so. Looking back at it, I'm always very confident, and perhaps probably a bit too confident for that one. The young 18-year-old coming off a debut win, lots of attention on me, saying after my performance, and perhaps maybe not doubts, but a bit too confident. And his previous fights, he looked good before that. He knocked a few kids out before that, so it was obviously a tough fight. And looking back at that, I still think I did really well to say where I was in my career in that fight, and I think I could have won that fight quite easily and had nobody arguing against me.
Yeah, agreed. So just on that then, Teddy, so the fight went the distance and you appeared disappointed with the judge's split decision. How did you have it at the time? And did you still agree with it after watching it back?
Yeah, it's tricky scoring a fight, and you're always kind of like between rounds, you kind of have a rough idea, but with that fight, it was so 50-50 in any rounds. I wouldn't, after looking back at it, I can understand why he won, and I can understand why I got one score on the scorecard, because I was winning 50% of the round, he was winning the other 50%. So I think perhaps maybe submission attempts might have stolen the fight, but I'm not bitter about it because I managed to get that fight back down the line. So it was a big learning experience for me, that fight. So I'm kind of blessed to have had it.
Good. Great attitude once again. And given the ebb and flow, if that was a 5-round contest, do you think that would have worked more in your favor?
I think so. I'm trying to think. I think I was starting to edge it off later on because I think he went for those guillotines and they probably stole it for him, but he gassed his arms, and I think I took him down afterwards, and I remember seeing it on the camera. You can see his face and he just looked absolutely blown from the guillotine. So I think perhaps 5 rounds I'd have edged it, but that's one of those things you never know.
Yeah, just pure speculation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And 2.5 months later, Teddy, we enter your breakthrough year in 2019. You're now competing for the biggest MMA promotion in Europe, Cage Warriors. Describe your thoughts seeing the big bright lights of the Liverpool Exhibition Centre for the first time.
Yeah, that's by far the best place I've ever fought in terms of it was a big pro show. The lights are on you, and it's a different experience when the lights are on you in a big venue like that. So when I got there, I was a little bit in awe for the first 10 minutes. But as far as experiences go, that is up there with all the professionals, the way the show was run. It gives me a taste for when I turn pro. I think Cage Warriors is definitely going to be an organization that I want to fight for.
Absolutely. And what about having Mark Goddard as the third man?
Yeah, like you say, it's another fanboy moment for me there.
Yeah.
Walking to the cage, and I'm like, I recognize this guy's Mark Goddard, but
yeah,
it was a good moment to have him there, and a little bit of like a claim to fame.
Yeah. And you met Darren Till backstage that night?
Yeah, it was. He was there warming up Tom Aspinall, his teammate, and we saw him in the room warming him up, and I thought, I'm not going to let Darren Till be there and not ask for a photo. So
of course not.
I went and bugged him for a photo, and I think Colin Heron, he was in there. He didn't look too happy. He always looks a bit grumpy, but
Yeah.
he didn't look too happy. Me busting in there, warm up and trying to get a picture. Yeah.
And Richard Luntz, your opponent, posed a tricky test, fighting out of titanium in Liverpool and has a karate background. His last fight was a majority decision loss against Tommy Coyle, who drew with Mike Thompson. So again, not an easy fight, and particularly following a loss. The fact that you train as a mixed martial artist, does that give you the confidence to face anyone, or is there a style of fighter you prefer coming up against?
Yeah, it's anyone really. I think styles make fights, so it's always good to be presented with a new challenge and gives you something to focus the fight camp around. But he had a karate style background, and that's always quite a fun style to fight, because not many guys in the gym replicate that style. So it's something a little bit different. And yeah, but by the time that fight, there's no real footage on that fight, and I suppose for anyone trying to find it, there's a blurry crowd video, but they didn't televise those fights, and it was a clean performance. I landed probably the best right hand of my career on him, and he wobbled him, and then the rest just ground and pound. So that's a nice fight that I wish was out there. If someone could ever find that video in the archives, then it's a good watch.
Well, I'll do my best to describe it. It was an absolutely dominating performance, winning via ground and pound in just under 2 minutes of the first round, and in almost similar fashion to how Richard won his debut. How much satisfaction did that win give you, and where does it rank overall?
Yeah, it was a good win. Obviously, that was coming off a loss, so that's a nice X factor to that fight. It's nice to getting back in the winning column, and in front of the crowd like that, and in a nice venue. It felt good. So I wouldn't say it's up there with some of the other wins I've had, but it was certainly a good experience.
Okay. And a month later, Teddy, you traveled to Preston again to take on Gabby Lolo, in which was another high moments in your career. An exciting matchup, bearing in mind you were both coming off first round finishes, with Gabby achieving a head kick knockout in his debut at UKFC 8, where you made your debut. He came storming out of the blocks. You managed to get the double leg and eventually the anaconda choke in 36 seconds. Describe your emotions at that time.
Yeah, it was a slick finish.
Very.
And I was loving that. I think that was kind of the fight that propelled me towards the belt a little bit in the UKFC. And me and my teammate had been kind of like winding each other up a little bit, like saying, "Oh, I'm going to finish him faster than you finish your guy."
Was
and
that
he
Tom?
went out there and got Tom. He grabbed like a 1 minute 15 finish or something. I thought, oh, no way I'm going to beat him. And I just came out of there and pulled that one out. So
easy.
That added a nice little cushion to it. I think just anything he can do, I can do better.
Yeah, so he got the drinks in.
Yeah, exactly. That's how you need to be, a little bit competitive. He was buying drinks for the night.
Always. So let's now fast forward 6 months, Teddy, to your first shot at MMA Gold for the vacant UKFC lightweight strap. A shot you've been demanding since your win over Gabby and cemented after your impressive unanimous victory against Aftab Javid. Did you see the fight with Aftab as the number one contender fight?
Yeah, they kind of billed it to me as that. I think the champion that they had at the time was going professional, so the belt was going vacant, but there was just like a little bit of like a weight between that or something. So they said me and Aftab was the number one contender fight, basically for the belt, as far as I was concerned. And yeah, he had some good wins on UKFC, and he's another fighter that I kind of saw on that show building up at the same time as me. So it was a good test.
Yeah, it was like grappler versus grappler.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you won.
Yeah.
Standard.
Exactly, mate. It's
standards.
Yeah. That's how it works when a grappler comes against me.
And your initial opponent for that particular fight, Teddy, was my guest on episode 7 and 10, Connor Hughes, who, of course, you competed against only last month. Connor was
Yeah.
coming off his epic encounter against another high-level amateur lightweight in Marcus Lewis. Does Marcus represent one of the few challenges you have left to accomplish in the amateurs?
Yeah, I'd like that fight. I've asked for it a few times, and I'm even talking about Almighty when they're getting back up and running. I'd love to come and take his belt off him, but I'm not sure if Ray will give me that fight. So we'll see. I can keep asking for it, but if they give it me and if he wants it, then I know how it's going to go, because I fought his teammate Richie Lunt before, who has quite a similar style, and not to compare the two, because I think Marcus is a much more well-rounded martial artist, but I seem to do well against karate guys.
Yeah, Connor as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So your eventual opponent for the title was Leon Williams, the Budo featherweight champion, and a completely different challenge to the one posed by Connor. Once again, you made it look easy, earning a TKO victory in the first round. What did it mean to you to be crowned champion, and exactly a year since your competitive debut?
Yeah, the fact that it was a year, that was a good thing.
Yeah,
I'd like to see.
A year.
I don't know if many people have gone from debutant to title fight in a year, and especially the way that I did it. I think being so active, I had some good fights getting there, so it kind of capped off that first year of amateur MMA and really kind of rewarded me for the past 12 months of hard work.
Yeah. And talking about that hard work, Teddy, that marked your 6th fight in 12 months. You are one of the most active fighters, perhaps the most active fighter. How important is that cage time experience?
Good. Yeah, I think it's the most important thing. Whoever spends the longest amount of time in the cage is always going to have that advantage. As long as you're not in there taking unnecessary punishment, every extra minute in the cage is a win. So I think, like you referred to me being one of the most active fighters, there's no one really with the drive and to compete as active as me. I've always just have a competitive spark in me, and I'm training like I'm in fight camp, so why not have a fight to actually aim for? So I always like to be competitive and rack up as many minutes of cage time and gym time as possible.
You're certainly doing that. And that moves us into 2020 now, Teddy, which started in impressive fashion with your armbar submission in your rematch with Mike Thompson at UKFC 13. First of all, any apprehension on your part, bearing in mind Mike was coming off 2 quick finishes, the last being a 60-second KO?
No.
No. Oh, wow.
Ever since that first fight with Mike Thompson, I've just been desperate for that fight. Every day I come to training, I was just kind of imagining punching him in the face again, because it frustrated me so much, that first fight. So he performed well against some other guys, but I've been in there. I felt his power. I felt his skill set. So I felt even more confident going into that fight, because I just knew that the amount that I'd improved over the year, that the fight would look so different.
Yeah. His nickname is Lefty. What is that left hook like?
Well, do you know, I don't know if I've just got a big fat head and I can take a shot, but it's, yeah, I wouldn't personally say that it's as hard as it looks, but it's just, if he lands a clean shot on you, it'll hurt you like anyone. But the way it looks in some of the videos, you can watch someone do a knockout and you're like, oh, don't want to get hit with that. But in reality, I think the threat of the takedown, the timing and the way every shot he could land on me never meant that I felt it in full force. So hopefully if there's a trilogy, I don't have to feel that left hook again.
No. And did the second time, Teddy, against Mike Thompson mean more, as there was a belt on the line?
Yeah, it it adds to it, doesn't it? The fact that it's a rematch, it's got a belt on the line, the pressure. It was 5 rounds. It completely amplified from the first fight. So that just kind of helped rise to the occasion a little bit more and kind of get the show and the stakes much higher. And that's what I love. I love pressure. I love the higher stakes. Every little bit of pressure I can squeeze out of a fight, I want it on me.
Excellent. And watching both fights back, Teddy, a significant difference in this one was the gains in your physical strength allowed you to dictate and control your opponent. Would that be a fair observation? And do you feel you're now developing that man strength?
Yeah, man strength's a real thing. You know, it's
100%.
something that just over time, your grips and everything kind of develop.
Exactly.
So perhaps that was a factor. I think I probably had an edge on the strength from what I previously had. But for me, skill-wise, I think that was a big thing. I didn't just take him down. I took him down and worked him for every single minute.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. And no nut shots.
No nut shots this time. Yeah. Caught me off guard early on. You know, it catches you off guard. You're just trying to fight, and then all of a sudden, boom. So it was painful as always, but you just got to shake it off and get back to it.
Oh God. And the watching crowd, Teddy, was getting really excited and making such a racket. Great atmosphere. Do you miss that? And were you someone who used to feed off the energy from the crowds?
Yeah, I miss that for sure. Crowds just make it really separates it from a casual spar in the gym to this is it. So, like you say, the crowd getting amped up for that. They were like, everyone was trying to get them to sit down. They were coming up to the cage side,
walking up to
and
it,
loving it. Yeah, so all of that, when you look back at the video, it just adds to everything.
Yeah. And talk us through the transition to armbar as he was in your guard midway through the second rounds.
Yeah, so at the start of the second round, I slid off an armbar from his back and ended up on the bottom. And it was just he was starting to posture up and throw strikes, and it was worth eating a strike or two just to control his posture and pop up for that armbar. And I've got constant threat from my guard. So when I popped up for that armbar, I had it latched on, and my coaches were shouting, "Break it, Teddy, break his arm." So that's what I tried to do. And you've got to be that ruthless when you're in a fight.
Yeah, but thankfully he tapped.
Yeah, thankfully for his own health, he tapped.
He tapped. And you could see the emotions pouring out of you at the end, Teddy. Try and sum up how you were feeling.
Yeah, that was the best I've ever felt after a fight. It was, like I said, I've been thinking about that fight for a whole year, just dreaming of getting that fight back. So the emotions flooded in. It was like, I've ticked that one off. That's not the notch on my record anymore. I've sorted that loss out, so I can just put it in the past.
Yeah. And would you describe that as your best moments in your MMA career?
Yeah, I think it's up there. Like with the crowd, with the belt on the line, it kind of gives it that edge over some other fights. I mean, I've enjoyed all the fights that I've had since, like with Connor, with Mark, but there's something about having the crowd there, having a belt on the line that amplifies it.
Exactly. So you just mentioned Connor. Let's conclude your flashlights by looking at your most recent fight and victory against the Ice King himself, Connor Hughes. He was looking at this fight as an opportunity to break in the top 5. Where did you feel a win over Connor could do for you?
Rankings wise, I think he was kind of overlooked a little bit. He was ranked something like 20th, but Connor 24. Was one of the guys that everyone rated who knew about amateur MMA, and he was someone I'd always looked at and thought I'll probably have to fight him at some point because he's a good guy in the lightweight division. So like after our first fight got cancelled, it was inevitable, but it was someone to tick off and say I beat him, because it's always annoying if a fight falls through and you've just got that there. You've prepared for that opponent. So it was good to just finally take that fight off.
Yeah. And as we touched on earlier in the show, 12 months prior, you were both initially matched for the vacant UKFC title until Connor
Mm.
pulled out due to injury. And you just mentioned it there once again, Teddy. You were always confident that the two of you would eventually meet, wasn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's that certain talent pool of
Yeah.
people in amateur MMA that you know, eventually, if you want to get to the top, you're going to meet these people. So
Exactly.
we're all going to fight each other eventually.
Yeah. Very similar to Marcus Lewis.
Yeah. Yeah. He's
Yeah.
one that just kind of seems to evade me, but eventually we'll
It's
get
gonna
there,
happen.
hopefully.
It's gonna
Yeah.
happen. Yeah, and hopefully our Almighty, I'll speak to Ray and see what I can do.
Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't mind pinching a second belt. I think it'd be nice having two on the shoulders. So
Yeah,
Almighty sounds good to me.
yeah. I think the only problem with Almighty is that there's a couple of competitors ahead of you. So you've obviously got Kyle Jones and you've got Tommy Coyle.
Right. Were they slated to get the belt
Yeah.
before all this
The
happened?
shot.
Right.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
shot. Yeah.
Yeah. I
think
get
that,
that.
I think that's the issue, and because
Yeah.
they've both competed on Almighty in the past, I think he's just trying to stay loyal.
Yeah, I get that. I understand why, but I mean, if Ray watches my fights and looks at my
Yeah.
record, I think he knows that I'll beat Marcus.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay. Well, you know what? That's a fight I would really love to see, man.
Yeah.
Well done to you,
Yeah.
Teddy. I love it. I love your attitude, my man. I really
Thanks,
do.
mate.
Very good. Very good. Very rare to come across, I have to say.
Thank you.
Yeah. Where do you get your confidence from? Is it all of the hard work you do in training? Your coaches, people around you?
It's probably just me a little bit.
Right.
But yeah, I think the hard work, my coaches, you just kind of, you start to realize in yourself, if you put the work in, then you'll be confident in yourself. And I would never come on here and say all this if I didn't truly believe it myself. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, you've definitely got the credentials to back it up. So then coming back to the Conor fight, was the game plan to close the distance and use your grappling ability to diffuse his striking strength?
Yeah, I think looking at that fight stylistically, it's karate striker versus grappler. So
Grappler, yeah.
he knew I was going to come and try and take him down.
Yeah, he knew.
And I knew I was going to do that. It's the way it goes in a fight, but
It's
he
mixed
can
martial
know. But
arts.
yeah, he couldn't stop it. But he had very good takedown defense, so it made me work a little bit more on it, and it was what we expected. So a lot of the takedowns that I eventually got him with was stuff that we'd worked on from looking at him, because we knew he was going to come in. He's got a very good whizzer and just chill against the cage. Very energy efficient takedown defense. So
yeah, Ray Thompson from Almighty, he mentioned something similar about Conor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably one of his biggest strengths is just he's very good at chilling on the cage and defending the takedowns. But the only problem is he's saving his energy, but he's losing the fight there. So eventually he gave me the opportunity to take him down and start scoring those points against him.
Yeah. So then on that note, as he ended the last round on top, Teddy, and bearing in mind the previous split decisions that didn't go your way, was there any nervousness before hearing the final scorecards?
Yeah, you'll have probably seen when they read out the scores. I was very relieved, but I blame Tom, who was cornering me. I came into after the second round, and I was like, "What's the scores? Do you reckon?" And he went, "I don't know, maybe 1-1."
Just so what you need to hear.
Yeah, he'd obviously been coaching me, but not scoring it. So I said I trusted him on that.
Tom.
So yeah, disappointing from him there. But we went into the third round, and
you know what, Teddy? That's a sackable offense.
It is. I gave him a final warning on that.
Good.
He's gonna have to sort his scoring out for future events. But yeah, I went into that third round, and I think I won the first 50%, but it's just that finishing on the bottom that it kind of planted that seed in my head. I thought, if I've lost this now because of that, but upon reviewing the fight, the first two rounds were mine easily. So
yeah. And now on to 2021 and the challenges that lie in weights. The first question is whether you'll feature on the Celtic Gladiator cards scheduled at the end of January? And if so, any news you can share?
Yeah, so my name's been put forward for that. I've not been matched as of yet, so
Okay.
we'll see if any names float about for that. I'm ready for that show if I can get on it. I've just been nursing a little injury over the past few weeks, but I'm getting back into sparring at the moment. So I'll take a fight on 2 weeks' notice if anything falls out or whatever. So as of yet, nothing on that, but I'm planning to try and get on that.
Okay, but yeah, so you're fit, healthy, and available.
Fit, healthy, and available for sure.
Okay, but you've still not been matched, even though it's only 5 weeks or so out.
No. I think some of the lads from a gym that I train at have been matched yet, so they've been matched already. So
okay,
I don't know if they're still searching for the right opponent for me.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah, that must be it.
Yeah, it goes both ways. I mean,
Exactly.
obviously, I want the toughest fights possible, but if there's some young guy or anyone who thinks looking up at the rankings and looking at me as the champ and thinks he can beat me, I welcome them to come and try because I'll fight anyone, regardless of their record.
Wow. All right. So it shouldn't be hard to find you a match.
No.
Okay, so
like I said, the answer is always yes.
The man from Del Monte. So, so in March, UKFC is expected to return, and where we may finally see you defend your lightweight crown against Liam McCracken, my guest on episode 11, and the current featherweight champion. Do you feel, as his featherweight belt isn't on the line, all of the pressure's on you?
Yeah, it's kind of on the line, really, isn't it? I mean, I'm tempted to say, "What chuck me down to featherweight? I'll do the horrible weight cut, and we'll put both belts on the line." But
wow,
it's scheduled for lightweight, so we may as well run it out at lightweight, and I'll be the uncrowned featherweight king as well. But the pressure is on both of us, really, because neither one of us wants to lose that fight.
Yeah, and just again on that point then, Teddy, so in an interview you did with UKFC and before the James Seddon fight in 2018, you predicted that you would one day claim the UKFC featherweight belt, take over both divisions before moving to the pros. Does a fight with Liam at featherweight still interest you?
Yeah, I could just about squeeze featherweight. I think we've had this discussion before with some of my coaches, and I don't quite like the idea of going to featherweight anymore unless I'm getting paid for it. So at amateur, it's a fight that I would maybe go for say if I beat Liam and it's a close fight, you want to rematch, go do it at featherweight.
Yeah,
maybe that's an option, but I'd love to have both of those belts, but I don't think it's quite worth it.
Champ status. Yeah, that's priceless.
It is for sure. I mean, I've got to get that picture with both belts on my shoulders. That's something I've been visualizing. So the young me that predicted that I'd go and get both belts was thinking of the same picture with me with both belts. So
I'm gonna wrap one on one shoulder, I'm gonna wrap the other on the other shoulder, and you're gonna need a fucking army to come take them belts off me.
One day we'll get champ status.
Absolutely. And then you got to ask Brian, how do I look?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And is the pressure of being the champion something you thrive on, as some people can find the life as a champion pretty exhausting?
Yeah, it's I like it. It's no different really. You just got a little bit more of a target on your back, and whoever they offer, they're the people that you're going to fight. But I want those fights anyway, if regardless of being the champion. So the only real difference is 5 rounds, and you just got a little bit more of a target on your back. But that's the kind of stuff that I like.
Okay. And coming back to the potential matchup with Liam, you're both 2 high-level grapplers. Can the temptation sometimes be to move away from what you're good at and show everyone the gains you've made elsewhere?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the fight plays out with us both being grappling heavy. You see it a lot in high level, like Ben Askren versus Damian Maia was a striking match for the first couple of rounds. So hopefully we have some good grappling exchanges in the fight. Hopefully we have some good striking exchanges in the fight, and I can kind of show how well-rounded I am, because I every time I come to fight, I'm like, right, let's show off your striking a little bit more, Ted. And it's the easiest path to victory is just take them down and choke them out. So why would I not do that?
Of course not. You don't get paid by the minute, do you?
Exactly.
So,
If they want to pay me
pointless.
by the minute, I might put
That's
on a little bit
different.
more of a performance.
That's different. Exactly. So Liam was someone you got to know during the Worlds in Bahrain. He spoke to me about some of the nights out you had there.
Not years as well. I know I went to Bahrain. When I went to Bahrain, both of us were on Team England. So we both got robbed in the first round as well. So we had a few little nights out and that together. So I know he's a good kid, but gonna have to get it, isn't he?
Any stories that you do share, keep them clean.
Yeah,
Boys on tour.
Boys on tour for sure. We both got bummed with rubbish decisions on the first day, so we were there for the remainder of the trip. So why not go and experience a bit of Bahrain's nightlife? So we had a few good nights out, and Liam's a good lad. So
yeah, he is.
We had a good laugh and hit up some of Bahrain's bars and had some fun.
Okay, all right, we'll leave it there. And
yeah.
And finally, then Teddy, any upcoming prospects at your gym that we may get to hear about in the near future?
Yeah, there's plenty of good guys that I train with. It's hard to single one out. I will say, we mentioned him before, Tom, who coaches me, Tom Somerset. He's the number one guy who could absolutely tear up any amateur and a lot of pros, but he's not necessarily a competitor. He's someone who likes to train and is fit year round. But if Tom stuck it into a second gear and actually wanted to compete, he would have all the titles. He'd be pro on Cage Warriors. He could easily make a beeline for the UFC if he wanted. He's such a talented kid, but he prefers to eat food and just train.
Wow. Can you blame him?
I can't blame him. I'm jealous of him at times.
Exactly. There you go. That's why he does it.
Yeah, but there's plenty of other guys that I train with over at Fourth Dimension and Sheffield Shoot who are like competitive amateurs, and I think a lot of them will go on to make a name for themselves.
Excellent. Okay, well, we look forward to seeing them do that. So, Teddy, we now reach the final segment of the show, and that is called Flash Fives. So I will ask you the following 5 questions, Teddy, and very simply, you give me your best answer. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Excellent, Teddy. So, first one, who would you love to compete against, either dead or alive?
Tricky question, this one, but
Sure.
The one that I always come back to is Khabib. I think is someone that I try and emulate a lot with my style, and just the experience of getting in there with him. By no means do I think I would do well against Khabib, but I would certainly love to experience and see how long I could last.
Yeah, because he's the benchmark.
He's the benchmark. One day people will be talking about me like that, hopefully. But he's someone that I'd certainly love to have a round with, have a fight with, and just kind of experience that level.
Okay, and do you feel he's retired, or do you think he'll come back for that 30-0?
I doubt he'll come back for that 30-0, but if Dana can tease him to do one more fight, I'd love to see him come in against GSP or something like that.
Yeah, me too. That's the fight that's got to happen.
Yeah, that'd be a good fight. Both of them out of retirement for one last.
Hurrah.
Yeah, one last hurrah.
Yeah. Okay. Your ideal way, I could probably guess this, your ideal way to finish an opponent.
It's going to be a submission. I don't discriminate against any submission. So
any.
I love the feeling of making someone tap. It's the ultimate control.
Yeah,
so
it's the ultimate. Yeah.
I'd probably go for I'd probably go for a heel hook at the moment. I feel like I mentioned earlier, once I go pro, I feel like heel hooks will be something that I'll have on my record and get a couple nice wins from that. But any submission will do me nicely.
Ha 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 ha. And the best combat sports fight you've seen?
Yeah, I'm struggling for an answer on this one. There's so many good fights that I've watched. Let me try and pick one of the best fights that I've seen. I like Rory McDonald versus Robbie Lawler.
Number 2, obviously.
Number 2, yeah. Number 2. That I watched that not too long ago, and just it was such like a back and forth fight, and even the sequence when Rory gets hit with that last shot, and you can just tell that he doesn't want to quit, but he just physically hasn't got it in him. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
The thing is about that fight, it started off very slow. So the first round and a half was almost nothing, and then
it just built into just an absolute brawl.
Madness. Yeah, great answer. Love that answer. Yeah, brilliant fight.
Yeah.
So go on.
Yeah, I was going to say, you wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to be in one of those fights personally, but to watch, they're the best kind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great answer. What superpower would you choose to have, Teddy?
I don't know. I've been watching The Boys on Amazon Prime, which is
season
a
1
little bit. I've watched both of them recently, and that's got me thinking a little bit. To be honest, I think you won't be able to beat like being able to fly or something like that. Yeah, the bloke Homelander in that, he's just got it nailed. He's got about 10 different powers. So if I could be like that, that'd be all right.
So flying, yeah.
Yeah, flying. I'll go for that.
Okay, great
just
answer.
Whiz around everywhere.
Absolutely. And the best finish to a fight you have seen?
It's tricky. There's so many good finishers, but one that I like is Bryce Mitchell when he got the twister. I think he's got a twister twice, and it was the second time he got it. I think that was one of my favourites because the whole fight, the grappling exchanges were awesome, and it's such a rare submission. The way he sets it up, that's probably up there with one of my favourites.
Right, so you appreciate the rare submissions.
Yeah. He's a fighter that I really like watching. So he's a bit of someone who's slept on, but I like his style.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of others. I mean, an obvious one is Khabib's finish against Justin Gaethje not too long ago. That's another one that I rate highly up there. Just so well-rounded and a nice triangle, which is kind of, for people who've watched a lot of Khabib's career, in his early days, he was nailing everyone with triangles. So it's a bit of a throwback win.
Yeah, and what about Charles Oliveira?
Yeah, I love Charles Oliveira. I wish he got that armbar against Tony Ferguson a couple of weeks back. That would have probably been my favourite finish because the way he snapped that on was beautiful.
Yeah, would you say he's the best jiu-jitsu practitioner in all of MMA?
Yeah, probably in terms of pure jiu-jitsu, he's up there, and I think he poses a lot of threats for that lightweight division. Yes. I wouldn't be surprised. Everyone looks at Conor and Poirier and all those guys, Gaethje at the top, but I think someone who's slept on, Oliveira, could come and take that belt.
Yeah, for me, he's apart from Khabib, not sure if he's retired or not, but for me, Oliveira is the best lightweight.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one.
Yeah, best lightweight for sure. Okay, well, thank you again, Teddy. That brings us to the end of the show. How did you enjoy that overall?
Thanks, mate. It was a great show. Loved it. I loved the detail on some of those questions. It kind of took me down memory lane and brought back some good memories.
Thank you very much. It takes two to tango.
Yeah. Thank you for being my dance partner.
Thank you very much. And thank you to everyone, the viewers, for joining Teddy and I on episode 14 of Flash Knockdown. And in the words of Bruce Buffer, the show that engages with people of the combat sports world. Thank you to everyone, and thank you to Teddy.
Nice one. Cheers, mate.
Thank you, Teddy. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.